Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up.
Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Arwen O'Neill, and today I am continuing my conversation with Greek astrologer Thomas Gazis. If you were listening last week, you heard us discuss latent synastry and his approach to comparing birth charts of a couple of very famous people in the world. We went through the Clintons, Bill and Hillary, and compared their charts using latent synastry. And we also talked about Donald Trump and Melania. So if you were interested in that, please listen to this podcast, which is a continuation of our discussion, moving on to mundane astrology, the astrology of politics and historical cycles, specifically focusing on the world at war currently. So please join me and welcome again, astrologer Thomas Gazis. Okay, so we're going to shift gears a bit and talk about mundane astrology, which is actually one of my personal favorites. So let me know what you how you use this in your practice.
Well, I have had great teachers. I mean, I'm a Dane Roger maniac.
Okay. Yes.
Reading his books ever since I was like 20 years old. And this means for very many decades now. And of course, Richard Tarnas.
Oh, I love him.
Absolutely. And so I have very good teachers, and plus always I'm trying to figure out things and produce some mundane astrology knowledge on my own, because you don't get some details. I mean, although these astrologers are super great, you don't feel complete sometimes, and you have to search here and there, and it's difficult to get information. So you have to create interpretations regarding mundane astrology, and trying to be objective and see things with a clear mind. I say this because I noticed, like almost 20 years ago, that transiting Pluto was rising high in the chart. To me, the classical zodiac is a sort of universal chart, right? I mean, I'm picturing the zodiac as the space around us. Aries is the horizon. Capricorn is the zenith above our heads. And Cancer is under the earth. And, the Western horizon is Libra.
Yes, of course.
And this has a function of its own. If you want to study mundane affairs, you have to know how these signs are affected each time, and which signs are emphasized, where the energies of the planets, and especially the transcendental planets, are falling in. And 20 years ago, I noticed that Pluto was rising high in the zodiac, or in the universal horoscope, as I call it. And that was strange to me, because as a Greek, I know Greek mythology.
Yes.
And Pluto should not rise high on the sky. He should be kept under our feet, in the
underworld. Yes.
It's his kingdom.
Right.
So it was curious to me, and I was saying to myself, why? How comes? What kind of period we are getting in right now, collectively? And
Right.
I thought about the previous time that Pluto was rising high, etc., French Revolution, and
Right.
all the things. And
And by rising, you mean it's entered Capricorn.
yes,
Yes.
and then Aquarius, where it is right now,
Yeah.
and it gave me a feel of unease. I say these last three signs are the so-called collective societal
Yes.
signs. So whatever energies enter in these signs, they are reflected onto our societies collectively over the earth,
Right.
over the entire earth, right? Uh, this goes for every sign, but especially the fourth quadrant. The last three signs are the most collective of them all. So we have to pay particular attention when transcendental planets are entering there. And we had a period where Pluto was in the last quadrant and Neptune as well. And this has enormous significance to me, mundanely speaking, because these two planets affected the world, the entire world, in ways we don't fully understand right now. And after maybe 30, 50, 100 years, they will better interpret these influences, because when you are living these energies, you don't become conscious of those energies and the way they affect you. Anyway, I was particularly aware of the fact of Pluto entering Capricorn and then Aquarius, and especially Aquarius is the fixed sign of this triad,
Yes.
this super collective triad, right? Super
Right.
societal. And to me, it had a particular meaning, but as I was reading the predictions of other astrologers, everybody was somehow joyful, and Pluto will enter in Aquarius, and people will rise, we will have revolutions, innovations, etc. And my thought was, wait a moment, you just interpret the half of it. You just focus on Aquarius. Pluto is not like that. Pluto will not give you full democracy and pure bloodless revolutions. There is Pluto in Aquarius right now. So our perspective should include Pluto. And Pluto won't give you just great innovations, and it will thrust you into the future, because that's Aquarius. You are missing half of the scenery if you
Yeah.
don't put Pluto there. So my idea was that Pluto in Aquarius will bring strongly and powerfully Plutonian energies all over our planet, all over our societies. Our societies will become darker somehow, more belligerent, or more death will be hanging over, will be hovering all over the planet, probably.
Yeah.
That was my.
In an
Yeah.
Aquarian way, which may be, technologically enabled, which of course we are seeing.
Yes, exactly. What kind of weapons we're seeing
Right.
right now? Advanced, super advanced.
And
But
AI enabled. Yeah.
exactly, it's amazing. I mean, yeah. So beepers exploding. I mean, amazing AI and super advanced
Right.
technologies. Okay, and that was my interpretation, and I was the only one probably, because most of them were talking about a great era we are entering, and we saw the evolution. We are living now in on the verge of Third World War,
Yeah.
and I predicted this as well. I will brag a little bit. Yes,
We have
but
to celebrate the wins, even if they're terrible. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Fake modesty is not good anyway, and I have an Aries moon and too much energy. So
Uh,
yes, so last January and February we had a major stellium in Aquarius.
yes.
The last time we had an exactly similar stellium was 1962
Oh,
when we had the Cuba crisis with
yes.
Kennedy and Khrushchev and the planet again on the verge of a nuclear holocaust.
Yes. The closest we ever came that we know of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then we had another Aquarius stellium somewhere in the 80s. I don't remember exactly, but it wasn't that powerful and significant. And we are now having we have had a very powerful and significant Aquarius stellium. And my prediction was that somehow the Cuba crisis is going to be repeated. There's going to be a major worldwide issue regarding nuclear war or a war, and that there wasn't before there, a new kind of war, very extreme, dispersed all over the planet, and a war that will bring us on the verge of a nuclear holocaust again, like in 1962. And we are living this thing right now. I mean, me in Greece, I'm on the radius of Iranian missiles right now because ballistic Iranian missiles can arrive easily in Greece. We are a few thousand of kilometers away of Iran, and anytime a ballistic missile might hit Greece, right? Or even other European countries. And we don't know that. And who knows what else will happen. Extreme things are happening all over our planet. We have three major wars and other wars developing, like Pakistan, Afghanistan. I mean, we never had a situation like this for many decades, right?
Right.
And we've lost the peace we had in the previous decades, or at least we Westerners were living, a cozy life,
Yes.
peaceful life. But we are losing this right now, especially in Europe. And I also predicted that Europe will become decadent. Uh, I predicted this back in 2020 because there is a 500 years major mundane cycle, 500 years approximately. Richard Tarnas talked extensively about this cycle, but my theory was that Europe became powerful when the Spaniards conquered the Aztecs, and when they besieged and conquered Tenochtitlan, the modern Mexico City.
Yes.
That was the first time ever that the Europeans um, conquered the intercontinental colony, that
Right.
acquired an intercontinental colony because, Europeans were major bastards. Yeah, I'm sorry. I live in Europe, but they
Yes.
had
You can say
ugly
that.
wars. Yes, they had very, very ugly wars, and they were conquering each other and fighting each other out of, greed and expansionism, etc. So the European continent was permanently on some major war.
Right.
Napoleon, I mean, crazy. The history of Europe is crazy.
Yes.
But that was the major thing for Europe, acquiring an intercontinental colony, major, huge, Aztec, rich colony.
Yeah.
That's how European colonialism started, and then they acquired other colonies in Far East, Africa, etc. And Europe became the major power of the planet.
This episode is brought to you by New Moon Wishing, a self-care guidebook for wishful thinkers. Please see the link in the show notes.
And it stayed like this, and it was not just a military power, it was a cultural power with Renaissance and beautiful churches and Italian painters, fantastic, such a beauty. I mean, Europe produced so much culture, and it was on the top of the entire world, for at least 5 centuries.
Yeah.
Now it's not anymore.
Right.
It's a weak continent. America is not supporting Europe anymore the way it did in the past. It just said, just take care of your own selves. I mean, come on, just buy some weapons or produce your own weapons. I'm not going to pay my dollars for you anymore, all right?
Right.
Do your thing. And suddenly, we Europeans realize how weak and poor we are. And not only this, we don't produce anymore culture, civilization, which was a great thing for Europe to produce art, music, culture, thinking, Renaissance, and everything. Not anymore. It's the worst version of a consumeristic continent. It's the ugliest part of America, Europe, because consumerism came to Europe. We had enough money like a few decades ago. Not anymore. Europe is becoming ever poorer, and it has nothing new to offer. Europeans are suddenly finding themselves in a vacuum, in a void, cultural void, and they have no meaning right now in their lives. And it's depressive. Europe has become a depressive continent, right? So my idea was that this 500 years plays a major role because, for example, the conjunction of Neptune and Pluto is taking place almost every 500 years. But not only that, every 500 years, we have um, the same presence of Neptune in the same sign. I mean, okay, first of all, let me give you a different perspective. In 1521 and 22 a little bit, Cortes besieged and conquered Tenochtitlan.
Yes.
Major achievement. I mean, these Spaniards were lucky. They had a small army, but of course cannons and powerful weapons, and they defeated.
And smallpox.
Yeah, they exterminated poor Aztecs and Central Southern Americans and Indians. And but this coincided 1521. Pluto was in Capricorn.
Yeah.
Neptune was in Pisces. Uranus was in Taurus. And back then, Saturn was in Aquarius. And I was writing this article back in 2022. And then those planets that I mentioned were located in the very same signs. Pluto in Capricorn, Neptune in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus, and even Saturn in Aquarius,
Wow.
like in 1521. And that was an amazing coincidence. It's not actually a coincidence. Every 500 years, an impressive phenomenon is taking place, an astronomical and astrological at the same time phenomenon called resonance, right? And
Right.
the planets resonate somehow. What I mean, they resonate. It takes 84 years for Uranus to revolve around the sun, and
Right.
it takes 165 years for Neptune to revolve around the sun, almost the double.
Yeah.
And then Pluto takes 248,
Yeah.
almost thrice the revolution of Uranus, which is 84 years. So there is a secret relation, a secret numerology, a resonance, a mysterious resonance, which is not that mysterious because these planets revolve around the sun for billions of years, and it is natural for every planetary system to be resonating after several billions of years, all the planets revolving. Each planet is somehow influencing the other, and we get a resonance out of this. So, to make a long story short, we have this magic cycle of 500 years, super resonating cycle for almost all planets. I mean, even Jupiter is somehow resonating like 44 times every 500 years. You find it in the very same sign, almost.
Yes.
But definitely Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, after 500 years, you will find them in the same sign they are currently, for example. Just take a planetary ephemeris or your astrological program and do this experiment. Project a date in the future, 500 years after 2026, and you will see the transcendental, the outer planets, that they will be in the very same signs or uh, in some cases in adjacent signs, almost in the very same signs. This is important, right?
Right.
So my conclusion was that a big cycle is closing for Europe. It flourished, conquered the entire planet. It was a super rich continent, very culturally advanced. It was the center of the entire planet. Everybody wanted to come over to Europe. I mean, even the Americans, I see in all movies, they say, I'm going to go in Europe. And they are excited. I mean,
Yes.
that they feel that they're going to go to a place which is very old and has so much culture, and they are thrilled, right?
Yeah.
But we have beautiful buildings, yeah, still, but the energy went away. We're
Right.
not that prosperous. We're not flourishing, and we are not producing. We are not producing, right? We are in a huge crisis, existential crisis. So my prediction was that Europe will enter in a phase of decadence right now. It lost its vavavoom. It lost its power, its energy, its glowing. It's not
Yeah.
anymore. And plus, thanks to resonances, I predicted somehow the bragging keeps on. I predicted the Ukrainian war because I'm studying history and always, I mean, everything I do, always astrology comes to my mind.
Yes.
Even if I am with people talking, I'm just trying to find out in my mind what kind of sign he is. This
Yes.
is tiresome. I mean, and I always avoid to talk about astrology unless people start talking.
Oh, 100%. I agree.
Yeah,
But once
it's
someone opens the door, then it's on.
yeah, because you don't want. I mean, if you have a restaurant, you just get sick and tired of food sometimes because all day long.
Right.
So I was studying the Crimea War. Uh, you don't know about Crimea, probably. You have heard it right now through the war in Ukraine,
Yes.
but Greece is close to Russia and to Crimea. And I knew the place, I knew the case, because in 1853, the allies of that epoch, England, France, Russia, and even Turkey, sorry, not Russia, England, France, Turkey, and all the allied powers. Ever heard of Florence Nightingale?
Yes, absolutely.
That was the nurse that helped the soldiers coming back from the Crimea front, Florence Nightingale, back in 1853.
Yes.
Maybe you have seen a melodramatic series in TV
Yes.
out of Florence Nightingale. And so the Allies overpowered Russia back then, and they defeated it, and they conquered and acquired Crimea, not for a long time though. And when I saw this, I noticed that back in 1853, Uranus was in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces, and the North Node in Gemini. And then I noticed that in 2021, Uranus will be in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces, the North Node in Gemini.
Yes.
And I said in my mind, what are the chances that some kind of Crimea war will be repeated right now? And
Ah,
uh, and
yeah.
I wrote an article, and I published it in several mundane astrology, American mostly, groups. And here we are. The
Yes.
Ukraine war uh, happens, and suddenly I have an influx of messages. Oh, you were right. How comes you predicted the Ukrainian war? And apparently, I was the only one that predicted the
Yeah.
war in. Yeah, and it's again thanks to planetary resonances, because again Uranus and Neptune were resonating the same way they were resonating back in 1853, plus the nodes of the moon. And when something is repeated up on our sky, something will happen here on Earth similar.
Yes.
That's a hermetic law. And what a wise text the hermetic text was, because you see these things really happen. So
Absolutely.
yes, and so my guess was that first of all, Pluto in Aquarius is going to influence Russia, apart from the fact that I predicted a new Crimea type of war with Russia involved. In my mind, traditionally, Russia is an Aquarius sign. So I guess Pluto in Aquarius will overactivate Russia in a certain sense, maybe in a belligerent sense, but survival to this country will be paramount because Pluto is all about surviving. When we come face to face with Pluto, either as individuals or as countries, Pluto is telling us this is no joke. You either gonna live but you gotta be a tough person to live. So you merit this, or you die. No joke here, guy, fellow, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I just saw Pluto in Aquarius and I said, this is the second sign that something's going to happen with Russia. It's going to get involved in some sort of war, and it will be a matter of survival, and it will be survival for other countries. And in general, Pluto in Aquarius, the fixed sign of the uh, societal signs, means that we're going to have wars because the fabric of society will be Plutonized
Right.
with Pluto in Aquarius.
And not just Pluto. I have to interject. Uranus is entering Gemini in April, and that placement corresponds with not only the U.S. Revolutionary War, the Civil War, and World War
Yeah,
II. And there have been several astrologers who predicted that this year we would have some sort of, I don't want
yeah.
to say World War III, but
I expanded. Probably, I'm one of the first astrologers that predicted
yeah,
the probability of a civil war in the States. And
yes.
now there is the movie Civil War.
Yes, not a
Have
great
you
movie,
seen?
but I did see that on the plane, actually.
I seen the trailer and
Yeah,
I
it's
see
not.
Americans and
Yeah,
they casually encounter other Americans. So they say, hey, what are you? And they say, I'm American. Yeah,
yeah.
but what kind of American?
It's
That was crazy. I
it
mean,
is crazy. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Uh, After the prediction on the Crimea War, I just followed this logic, and the next thing to do was moving on from 1853 to 1861, and we had a civil war in the United States. And my guess was that there is a huge probability this thing might be repeated. And I was thinking about this in 2021 or 2022 mostly. And already the situation was polarized in the States
yeah,
back then. But not so much, there wasn't so much the probability of a civil war. Now, today, definitely there is. That's why they made the movie.
yeah.
But yes, things are repeated, although I have some details in my article, my relative article about the civil war in the States. There are a few of diverse configurations. They're not exactly the same as in 1853. I might send a link so people get
Please
to
do.
read this
We will link
article.
to that in the show notes. Absolutely, we would love to promote
Great,
that article.
great.
Yeah,
So this is the case. I mean, the fabric of society all over the planet has been Plutonized. I mean, it started with Pluto in Capricorn, especially in Europe, with terrorist attacks all over the place. I mean,
yeah,
when I got married, we went with my wife in Paris, and we are so cozy, so relaxed. No terrorist attacks back then. A peaceful atmosphere.
yeah.
The Eiffel Tower, great restaurants, baguettes, and everything. It was so serene and calm. Now you don't get this after especially the end, like 2010 and all these terrorist attacks. What's the name of the club? Bataclan. And all these, trucks, huge trucks, mowing people in the streets, and everything changed, and you don't feel at ease. You are in Paris, and your mind, I would, my mind would be in a state of, is somebody gonna explode his suicide vest over here?
Right.
Uh, Is somebody gonna mow us with his truck? That wasn't the case like 20 years or 30 years ago that we got married.
Yeah.
Everything was so peaceful. It's really not anymore. And this started over when Pluto entered Capricorn. Capricorn is the zenith of the universal horoscope, and it has to do uh, with society. I mean, being under the Eiffel Tower, you are in a Capricornian environment because you're not in your private house. You are in a societal environment with people.
Yeah.
People. A lot of people mean society in an open space and in a huge square, and there are people there. That's society.
Yeah.
And uh, every place you are in a public event, a rock concert that we had terrorists in rock concerts as well. It's a public space. It's society. Wherever society is, Capricorn is there because Capricorn symbolizes the structured society.
Right. Right.
Okay, but if Pluto is in Capricorn, death is around, all around you. And that's unusual because in a societal environment, deaths not be obvious. I mean, people are dying all the time, but not on a public square, on an
Right.
open space, right? They are dying in their houses, hospices, and it's something very sad, but this is life. People are
Yeah.
dying all the time.
Capricorn also represents authority, and I think there was a huge crisis in trust in authority, the faith that we used to have in
Yes.
governments and just the news, even to tell us the truth. There's, people don't trust
Yeah.
facts anymore, and that's been a very recent occurrence.
Very good remark. We start doubting, doubting everything.
Yeah.
We don't trust anymore. I mean, that was my parents didn't trust that much the government, but
Yes.
you
Well,
know,
mine either, but yeah.
yes, but sometimes they were
Most people.
telling me, yeah, we have to do this because the government says so, and we have to do this. Not anymore. The
Yeah.
government says it, you get suspicious out of everything said by the government.
Everything. And then you look up your own facts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And definitely this is Pluto in Capricorn, right?
sure.
And not only this is, Pluto has to do with getting naked. It has to do with people having sex, and you have sex, you get naked.
And vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah, the naked thing extends to everything. I mean, politicians become naked.
Yeah.
Their dark secrets are revealed.
Yeah.
And societal secrets become obvious, open up, they become naked. You cannot hide them anymore. And this process started with Pluto in Capricorn, although Capricorn is a feminine sign, so it was a little bit reluctant to make things open, to put things onto the open. But it is the cardinal sign of this trio.
Yes.
And started the whole procedure of revealing the dirty stuff.
Absolutely.
Of politicians, of states, of everything, revealing. And definitely this was focused more powerfully when Pluto passed into Capricorn, into Aquarius, because Aquarius is crazy about truth, about the truth.
Yes.
It's an absolutely crazy sign about telling the things how they are, not hiding anything, not being hypocritical.
Well, we're definitely entering a very interesting time that is a continuation of that beginning of Pluto into the final quadrant. Thomas, I could talk to you for hours about this, and we can definitely schedule a future interview.
Gladly.
Thank you so much for joining us on Starzology.
Thank you, Arwin.
This
Thank you
has
so
been
much.
absolutely fascinating. And we will share links to your articles down below in the show notes.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And thank you, our listeners, for getting through this podcast. Please make sure you are following us or subscribed on wherever you get your podcasts, be it Apple Music or Spotify. And make sure you're getting our newsletter. Go to starzology.com/newsletter to sign up. You can also be following me on Substack, and I'm at mspink.net, mspink.net. I send out my weekly newsletter every Saturday. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.